Well, what are you talking about? It worked with you.
Oh, you know what? No, you're right. We met, you flirted, and then bam! 9 years later, you had me.
Beautiful engagement ring ever.
Yeah, well, you should know. You bought like 1 billion of them.
Yeah, you didn't get one. My God, that's no big deal. Most women don't even feel them.
Okay, no uterus, no opinion.
How about for a guy, Thatcher?
Ross, why do you hate our child? Green.
And I'm Dr. Ross Geller.
Ross, please, this is a hospital, okay? That actually means something here.
There are a lot of television characters that I dislike, a lot of whom you would not expect. I like to keep people on their toes. There's no point in hating an intentionally unlikable character, in my opinion, but explaining why a beloved character should not be so beloved, that's my bread and butter. I love to be a contrarian. And Ross is right up there at the top of the list. Below Dan Humphrey, but above Elena Gilbert. Let's talk about one of the worst couples in television history. A TV couple that, much like the characters of which it is comprised, refuses to allow the past to be the past and culminates in these two deeply incompatible people being together. And all people are incompatible to an extent, yes, but these two really should not be together. There is nothing of substance between them. Let's all pray for their child and that wretched household to which she will definitely be subjected to. Hi, my name is Khadija and I make videos on film and television. This is my 3rd time recording this video in its entirety. Both of the previous times, the file was corrupted. You might not even see this video. This might get corrupted too. I blame Ross. In season 1, we are introduced to our cast of characters, the friends, and we meet Ross and Rachel. Ross is obsessed with Rachel, his sister's childhood best friend, who is now living with her after running out of her own wedding and leaving Barry at the altar. That's a tongue twister. Barry later marries her maid of honor, but cheats on her with Rachel. She sure knows how to pick 'em. Although in the first episode, Ross tells Rachel he wants to ask her out, he proceeds to do absolutely nothing because he's embarrassingly insecure and has no courage. This also, to be clear, happens to be the same day she ends her long-term relationship with a man she nearly married. She just left a man at the altar, and that's when Ross decides he wants to move in on her. From the beginning, Ross and respecting women as fully autonomous human beings, not vulnerable things to be preyed upon, they don't really go together. This shows up countless times throughout Ross's relationship with Rachel and other women. In this essay, he can, however, certainly speak up about his hatred for her boyfriends behind her back, especially Paolo, who doesn't speak English and Rachel doesn't speak his language, yet somehow they date for several months. Paolo then tries to move on Phoebe, so they break up. Ross's obsession with an oblivious Rachel is very weird and makes me uncomfortable. We know little else about his character except for the fact that he miraculously has his PhD at age 26, meaning he should be a lot smarter than his behavior would lead one to believe. This is probably just a background error. They probably never chose to interrogate how long PhD programs actually are. Friends is filled with continuity errors, in fact. Ross is 29 for seasons 3 through 5. Joey is the youngest in the first season, but Rachel turns 30 last. And later, in this first season, Rachel celebrates a spring birthday. And in season 4, she says her birthday is May 5th. But later on, it said that she's an Aquarius. I'm not one to complain about things that don't matter. That's clearly not true, just like on my channel. But I would like to point out, I have seen Disney Channel shows with better consistency. Have they ever heard of a show Bible? Ross and Rachel spend some time together when Ross helps Rachel do her laundry. He claims he has laundry to do too, but Monica points out he has laundry in his building, so he just wants to hang out with Rachel. After helping Rachel stand up to a mean older woman who keeps taking her stuff at the laundromat, Rachel rewards Ross with a kiss, which I guess is meant to be platonic. I don't know. I don't be kissing my friends. That's just me. I also would like to direct the class's attention to the fact that Ross is a father. He has a kid with his ex-wife Carol, who left him for her now wife, which is another thing that has wounded his fragile male ego. He is by all means an absentee father. We barely see that kid. We do see Ross not wanting Ben to play with dolls and wanting to teach him about Hanukkah during Christmas time, not because he is religious per se, but because, like with the doll, he wants to control and craft Ben's childhood upbringing despite not really being around. Entitlement. That could just be the title of this video, no pun intended, but Rachel isn't off the hook either. We shall return to her later on. One thing Ross does do this season, for which I will give him credits, but don't get used to it, is that in the episode where they all play poker, which is one of my favorite episodes, the boys are competing against the girls, and Rachel has an interview for a job that she really wants so that she can stop working at that coffee shop. The interview goes really well, but Rachel doesn't get the job, and wanting to see her smile, Ross lets her win. That's nice, I guess. There, you can't say I never said good things about him. At the end of the season, Chandler accidentally lets it slip that Ross has a crush on Rachel, and she decides that she might be interested after they all sit around and convince her that she might be interested. If you have to convince someone that they like someone else, I don't know, they may not actually like them. But Rachel becomes the one pining season 2 when Ross moves on to his girlfriend Julie, who deserved so much better than him. Now, the thing about Rachel is I am inclined to believe that she primarily enjoys attention. She likes Ross because she knows he would be obsessively good to her.
Had feelings for me.
Yeah, what so? You had feelings for me first.
Whoa. Huh. You know about I had, you know?
Later on, when he does things like yell at her in front of her friends in the one where no one's ready, another one of my favorite episodes, she throws a childlike tantrum. And while he was wrong, I'm not defending him. Hello, I don't like him, if that's not clear. Her response was childish. She does have some immature and inexperienced behavior that she brings with her into relationships. In season 2, after Rachel tried to find Ross at the airport and tell him how she felt, she was too late and he was on the plane already. He comes back with a new girlfriend, Julie, with whom he has a lot in common. They met on the same expedition and she is also a professor. Instead of simply being honest about her feelings, Rachel decides to suppress them because that's her storyline for this season. Until she's on a date with someone else and drunkenly leaves Ross a voicemail admitting to her feelings. After a very funny sequence, I do have to really genuinely give props to the actors of Friends. They are very, very good. They're so funny. The magic of Friends really is in the acting. The script itself, it's not bad by any means. It's not unfunny, but it's nowhere near the level of The Office or Abbott Elementary. The portrayal of the characters elevated them into incredibly lovable mainstays for decades to come. Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, and Lisa Kudrow were the highest paid female actresses on television at the time. The cast can and does still get mocked by Friends fans to this day anywhere they go, which is also in due part to the fact that Friends is available on streaming. So people like me who came along after the show was basically done can still watch and enjoy it. Every last one of them is really born to play their characters. I think casting got so lucky to find all of them genuinely because they had really good chemistry as well and were able to come together and craft their own unique brand of humor through acting and expression and physicality. They are really masters of this craft. After that scene, Ross is torn between Rachel, who has given him a crumb of attention after years of ignoring him, and Julie, who has been his faithful girlfriend. Justice for Julie. She really was a casualty in the saga that was Ross and Rachel. The foundation of this relationship is garbage. Ross wants Rachel primarily because of nostalgia. He wants to give some vindication to his younger, obsessed self. He makes a list, however, of pros and cons for Rachel and Julie, which really hurts Rachel's feelings when she finds it because he has a lot of pros for Julie and a lot of cons for Rachel, which is awful. And I bet what really bothers Rachel about it is that she knows deep down they're not compatible. He has so many cons for her, and a lot of them were really hurtful. So she's vain and she's just a waitress. Okay, why do you like her then? After this, and this is more of a bit, Rachel proceeds to date someone named Russ, who is a clone of Ross, showing that she's not over him, but she can't quite see it. Then, in another episode, they watch a video of their senior prom, and Rachel realizes that Ross came to her rescue, actually, and was getting dressed to take her when her date almost stood her up, only to be the one left behind. Rachel kisses him, and they are now together. Why does this romantic gesture from the past completely erase the fact that Ross does not respect her as a person? She has always been a trophy for him. Why does this sway Rachel so much? I'll tell you why. Because Rachel is enthralled by the fairy tale romance story. She wants to be the princess swept off her feet. That's why her first act in the series is to leave a man at the altar because she was not in love with him. She's in love with the idea of being in love. But let's dive a bit deeper into Ross's psychology as well, shall we? Ross grew up kind of ostracized and longing for a girl who never even looked twice at him, which worsens his sense of inadequacy, which he now projects onto women. His parents were obsessed with him because he was the miracle child, the firstborn. They thought his mother was infertile. But no one else seems to give him that sense of attention. We find out later on, and this is, I think, absolutely insane, and we just breeze on past it. He joined an I Hate Rachel club in high school because he was so devastated he couldn't be with her. He started to resent her. Literally, a club. They had titles and meetings and everything. Brad Pitt was in it. Ross believes that being a good guy is all it takes to be worthy of a good woman. He, like all men in romance stories, believes that liking someone should be rewarded with reciprocation. He, in a sense, feels entitled to Rachel, and Rachel and all their friends view this as romantic. Phoebe says he's her lobster, a reference to the fact that she claims that lobsters mate for life. Don't know if that's true or not. At the start of the relationship, going to season 3, Rachel can't entirely take Ross seriously, and so she laughs when he tries to get intimate with her. And they have sex in the museum. Gross. Ross and Rachel have a fairly steady relationship until the showrunners remember this the TV show that they want to run for a few more seasons. So they're like, let's mess it up. And they introduce Mark. Mark helps Rachel get a job at Bloomingdale's, and she gets to leave her job at the coffee shop to work in fashion, which she really wants to do. Ross is unreasonably jealous of Mark. He drives Rachel crazy, complaining about all the time she spends with Mark, which is her job. He's her co-worker, because, again, he is deeply insecure and entitled. He already feels as if he has had to work so hard to win the prize of Rachel, so he is not going to concede to brand new competition. On their anniversary, Rachel has to work and Ross wants to celebrate. He also wants to establish that Rachel is his territory in front of Mark, which he does not appreciate. When he brings Mark again, they get into a fight so bad that Rachel suggests a break. Ross lashes out, storming out of the room and sleeping with another woman. Now, I don't need to say this because no one in their right mind thinks Ross was justified for this, but he was wrong. Even if they had broken up, and I mean, they were on a break. Rachel was the one who asked for it, so I don't know why she says they're not on a break, because they were. But even though they are, sleeping with someone else immediately after is incredibly disrespectful and only something you would do if you wanted to hurt them. That's something you do when you move on. Hello. Ross wasn't looking for comfort. He, in my opinion, wanted to humble Rachel because of his insecurity over Mark. And he knew he was wrong because he tried to hide and lie until they actually do break up. Rachel says, I used to think of you as someone who could never ever hurt me. As I said, her attraction to him was firmly founded in her desire to be treated well and feel special, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I do think that it grew into something more, and it also allowed her to walk away when he hurt her, something a lot of people cannot do. She was never dependent on him. He was never her whole life. He added to her life, which I believe is very healthy for a relationship. And so when he no longer can hold up his end of his bargain, she breaks it off. She tried to fight for it because there was nothing to fight for. Ross says something in this conversation that really bugs me. Are you going to fight or just run away when things get hard? You cheated! The door! The audacity! Oh my goodness. Ross in this instance actually believes if he apologizes and shows contrition because he loves Rachel, it will be alright. Listen to me very closely. Love is not enough when respect does not exist. In many ways, Ross is the quintessential nice guy, a man who believes that he cares for women deeply, but actually views them and treats them as accessories that he can have if he simply polishes one enough. In that moment, however, Rachel has enough respect for herself and enough of an understanding of what a healthy relationship should be, because let's be honest, they were never really happy. They argued all the time, to know that she cannot endure this and that she deserves better. She knows that it doesn't matter if he likes her, loves her even. What matters is what she feels and what he made her feel. What matters is what she wants to do. Something that Ross never really understood. If he were really remorseful over what he did, he would have gotten upset that Rachel was upset and not willing to forgive him right away. He would have understood. If you were apologizing to someone, if you're expressing remorse for something you did wrong, but then you get mad when they treat you as if you did something wrong, you weren't actually remorseful. It was completely performative. The two struggle handling their dynamics, as with their shared friend group and the fact that Rachel lives with Ross's sister, they have to constantly see each other, and they cannot stand to be in the same room together. This is hard on everyone else, but nobody in this case really matters except Rachel, the one who got hurt. So Rachel, get behind me. I don't care if Chandler starts smoking again. That's his problem. There's a weekend where Rachel invites them out, but Ross has already booked them, so they go hang out with Ross, and then later on they go to Rachel's cabin without Ross. Then Ross has to come save them. This episode really reveals how he can be manipulative if he wants to, because he goes to his ex-wife, interrupting her evening with her wife, and tells her that Rachel left him with no mention of why. He says that she left him because of Mark. Are you kidding me? Is that really your interpretation of events? Now he goes to Carol in the first place because he needs validation from another woman who left him, but this time it really is his fault. And I think instead of their friends and his sister insisting that they work it out, although yes, circumstances considering, it needed to be done, someone should have sat down with Ross and talked to him about his self-destructive habits, which he continues to engage in for the remaining duration of the show, all the way through to that last season. Rachel briefly tries to date Mark. I think Ross honestly got in her head because no way she liked him, and unfortunately Ross was right about what Mark really wanted. Men, they always disappoint you. Ross gets a new girlfriend named Bonnie, who Rachel is jealous of, and so on a beach trip that they all take together, she convinces Bonnie to shave her head bald, which is, I'm sorry, hilarious. Then Ross gets to choose again between Rachel and Bonnie. He doesn't deserve the option to choose. This dynamic is intentional though, because I do think Rachel wants to feel chosen. She wants to be a princess. And Ross wants to feel empowered and vindicated as a man, knowing multiple women want him. It means nothing though. Straight women have notoriously bad taste. Everyone knows that. We end season 3 on a cliffhanger with him standing in the hallway outside of Bonnie's and Rachel's room, not knowing who to choose. Then we come back to season 4 and see that he's chosen Rachel. Rachel, however, wants him to read a letter that she wrote. 18 pages, front and back. Ross falls asleep instead of reading it and has no idea what it says. So back in New York City when they reconcile and Rachel referenced the letter and how he's taking responsibility for everything, he is really put off by this, which is confusing because it was his fault. But Ross can take accountability. He's entitled, so they argue again. He believes it takes two to ruin a relationship when he cheated. He's actually not real.
We were on the break!
So things don't work out again, and later on at Thanksgiving, the two are arguing because Rachel always returns her gifts, and Ross says that she's not sentimental enough. She proves him wrong, however, when she brings out a box of a bunch of saved stuff from their time together. Why Ross thinks that he can accuse anybody of anything, I do not know. I'll tell you what's not sentimental: sleeping with somebody else. Rachel spends a good chunk of this season being obsessed with a guy named Joshua, who she was helping at work, and this is a lot of secondhand embarrassment for us, the viewers. Rachel really is not used to not being adored, is she? It's why she keeps going back to Ross. There is an evening where she's meant to entertain Emily, a relative of her boss, but she wants to hang out with Joshua, so she asks Ross to do it. He initially says no, but he and Emily really hit it off while Rachel has a terrible time with Joshua. Rachel throws a surprise party for Emily as an excuse to invite Joshua over and posts out her high school cheerleading uniform. I don't really know what was going on here, but Joshua does admit to having feelings for her. Ross proposes to Emily, and Rachel, upset, proposes to Joshua, who backs all the way off. He backs off for good when he goes to see her after, and she was playing dress up in wedding dresses with a moniker and Phoebe, and she opens the door in it and says, "I do." So funny. She decides to not go to Ross's wedding in London, staying back with a very pregnant Phoebe who was pregnant with her brother's kids because she's a surrogate. But then Rachel changes her mind and heads out at the last second because she wants to tell Ross that she still loves him. Oh my gosh. She was killing me this whole season. Luckily, however, she does not take the opportunity to embarrass herself. At the altar, though, Boss says Rachel's name. I don't know why he married Emily. Is he this oblivious to his own emotions? He insists that it was I don't even know what the excuse was. He never really explains it because I guess he really can't. Him and Emily still say their I do's, but Emily runs away. And then he sees Rachel at the airport and invites him on what would have been their honeymoon. Goodness gracious, this guy. Emily shows up and sees them together and she runs off and he runs after her, but Rachel's already gotten on the plane, so she goes on the honeymoon by herself. I cannot. Her ex-boyfriend's honeymoon alone. Emily and Ross reconcile, but on the condition that he never sees Rachel again, even though she lives with his sister. I don't know how that was going to work. Listen, the thing about Emily, it is completely understandable that she didn't trust Ross. It is not understandable and I'm arguing toxic to pursue a relationship with someone knowing you do not trust them. It's never made sense to me when people do that and try to punish someone for their actions, their past actions, which they have seemingly condoned and forgiven because they got back together with them. You are choosing to be with them, okay? So either let it go or break up. I have very little sympathy for people who co-sign their own mistreatment. I'm not talking about victims of abuse. That's a very different psychological effect. I'm talking about people who are not being emotionally manipulated and who are in control of their faculties. You are responsible for your own actions. If someone showed you exactly who they are and you went back, that's silly. Things don't work out between Emily and Ross gets divorced again. Ross has had other serious relationships besides Rachel, but she hasn't really had other serious relationships besides him. Interesting. But Ross never gets over Rachel. He married someone else and still never got over Rachel. And Rachel never gets over him. This level of attachment is not because they're soulmates. Okay? They are attracted to what the other represents. It's self-contained. Ross wants to be the guy who gets the girl, wants to make it up to his childhood self, and Rachel wants a true love story. She wants someone who's obsessed with her the way that she's obsessed with love and romance. Notice how desperate she is with everyone except Ross, Joshua, Paolo, even that guy who was way too close to his sister. She needs a level of devotion that only Ross, because of his own problems, can give her. And they have so much history together, they can constantly draw on those latent feelings as an endless source of enduring sparks and romance. In a way, they are made for each other, but it's the wrong way. It's understandable that they cannot leave each other alone. While on a group trip to Vegas, Ross and Rachel drunkenly get married, after which Ross lies about getting annulled, and they had to get divorced. The pair go to a judge to get annulled when Rachel finds out that Ross lied. Literally, what was the plan there? Were they gonna be secretly married forever? What? I know it's generally agreed upon that we dislike a lot of Ross's antics, but for me, it's more than that. There isn't a whole lot to enjoy about him as a character aside from David Schwimmer's portrayal of him. They make him pretty irredeemable in an attempt to build conflict and humor. It's a common mistake. The Office did it at times with Michael being literally racist in the first season. The Big Bang Theory had a whole bunch of incels running around in it. Girlfriends did it with all four of their main characters. Ross was a casualty. But the judge realizes something is amiss because Rachel takes this as an opportunity to insult Ross, claiming that an annulment is necessary because he is mentally unstable, addicted to substances, gay, and unable to consummate. The last one is really what upsets Ross, so they don't qualify for an annulment due to this clearly fraudulent report, and Ross earns his third divorce. Lovely. Love that for him. Rachel's sister Joan comes to visit, portrayed by Reese Witherspoon, and the casting for Rachel's sisters is so good. Her sister is played by Christina Applegate, and the three of them really do look related. Apparently, however, rumor has it, Reese Witherspoon was only there that one time because she and Jennifer Aniston did not get along, which is so funny because they later have a very successful Apple TV show together, so I guess they get over it. She, Joe, and Ross go on a date, which is so weird because Ross and Rachel were technically married, but Ross begs to laugh because of Rachel knowing that things could never work out with Rachel in the future if he goes on with this. He later dates his student, not at all troublesome, and Rachel dates that student's dad. Wow. These two are constantly dancing around each other, and while some part of it is for humor, it is a television show, it also says a lot about who they are. It's almost as if they become used to this toxicity, and because they are forced to be in each other's orbit constantly, there's nothing that can really make them move on. Proximity and access is what defines their relationship at this point, as those feelings are left unresolved and complicated because of this love that they once had, but this betrayal. Betrayal. Rachel wanted Ross, I think, to keep hiding. That was part of her ideal romance story. She says when they reconnect after Bonnie that she broke up with him because she was mad, not because she stopped loving him. Those feelings never go away. And neither of them really make any effort to perhaps actually heal from that experience and grow and actually move on. Rachel says that that's what she wants, but it's not really. Because she interprets these remaining lingering feelings as a sign to keep pursuing it. That's why she goes to tell him that she's in love with him still at his wedding, and she thinks it means something that he said her name. And that, for some reason, doesn't put her off immensely. Ross does do a better job of trying to move on, but fundamentally, he thinks in the back of his head, I think, that they're always going to get back together and that he just needs a distraction. At no point do they actually discuss what their issues were, which is Ross's deep insecurities. And Rachel does have her own tendencies that are more apparent after the relationship that are simply not good for her. Clearly, she's inexperienced in the realm of relationships. She can be a bit like a high school teen girl at times in how she pursues them. These two take their lack of internal resolution and interpret it as true love. And so they're kind of doomed. I can extrapolate this to make a commentary about how we portray love in the media in general and television, but then this video would be 10 hours long, and I would probably have had to record it 5 times. But we tend to conflate codependence that stems from internal insecurities with this idea of an undeniable love that is all-encompassing and supposed to conquer all. Just toxic because it allows toxic behavior to be brushed to the side in the interest of love. It's so odd because this is the same show that has Monica and Chandler, which is a much better relationship that is actually realistic and even explicitly shoots on the idea of soulmates. It's a genuine friendship that evolves into more. How do these two relationships coexist? Back to the timeline, Monica and Chandler get engaged. I really like them. Did not understand the point of all the lying and hiding after they admitted they were in love. Where else was it going to go from there? I mean, they would have to tell people if they wanted to build a life together, which is what you want to do when you're in love. No? And stop gaslighting my girl Rachel. She ain't stupid. My favorite awesome episode of Friends is the one where they all find out. I might go rewatch it as a reward after I finish recording this. So funny. They don't know. We know they know we know. At the engagement party, they see Ross and Rachel kissing all of them, and Monica gets upset because she thinks they're stealing her thunder. I love her. I've watched Chocolate seasons. This is season 7. Very beginning. At the end of it is Monica and Chandler's wedding. Phoebe finds a pregnancy test in Monica's bathroom before the ceremony, and this information makes its way to Chandler, who is already getting cold feet, only for it to be revealed that Monica is not the one who is pregnant. Rachel is. And who's the father? Gosh. Who else? Ross. The fact that they even go back and forth about who this could possibly be is so funny to me. They think it might be Tag, who Rachel just spoke up with, even though they've met him. Ross ends up recording the night that they hooked up together because he's scum. And so when the two disagree on who initiated it, they can all watch the video before they get to. And I'll see that it was technically Rachel. I don't know. Ross kissed her, but she told him some story to learn. Who cares? Okay, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that Ross, who was recording himself when Rachel came in because he was practicing his best man speech, didn't either stop the recording or delete it after. He wants to keep it for his personal records, I'm telling you. When Rachel tells him that she's pregnant and he is the father, he proposes, which she turns down. Her father also wants them to marry because he thinks it's the decent thing to do, but she insists that she does not want to, even when her father offers her her dream venue. Rachel is living with Joey after Chandler and Monica move in together and later get married, but she moves in with Ross as he wants to be there for their pregnancy, which ends his relationship with his girlfriend. Joey suggests that they move in together because he is developing feelings for Rachel. Ugh, I hate this storyline so much. It's the worst. Joey admits this to Ross, who tells him to tell her, but Rachel turns him down. Rachel is present for forever and then eventually gives birth after a truly awful labor to beautiful Emma, who I think is older than I am. I'm older than I look, okay? I'm not a teenager. I'm in my 20s. All three of the leading Friends ladies experience pregnancy and motherhood at one point in different ways. Phoebe is a surrogate, Monica adopts, and Rachel has an unplanned pregnancy. I've read that it was intentional, that the show really wanted to help deconstruct taboos, and in a lot of ways, Friends was ahead of its time. They also had the first lesbian wedding on TV. The show has aged remarkably well, in my opinion, another reason why I think it's still so popular. They do have problematic issues, i.e. the jokes about Monica being fat never sat right with me, but it's nothing compared to something like Sex and the City, which, yes, the bar is low, but is the bar. With its casual racism and internalized misogyny and casual homophobia, it is really interesting to watch in this day and age. I love Sex and the City, though, and I do think it's important to remember our history, not rewrite it, but it is also important to criticize it. Okay, I think Friends really did stay away from a lot of the commonplace problematic behavior at the time that other shows were farming for attention, and so it remains largely wholesome. It doesn't avoid everything. However, it being the 90s, all three of the main actresses struggled with body image, and the show did feed into this with Monica's weight loss journey. It's just not funny. The show mostly did focus on the characters' interpersonal relationships, however. All of them. I think something it does really well is that it really focuses on each person's relationship with each of the other characters, which is difficult to do with 6, but they make it work. And I really appreciate it because I don't think society appreciates friendship enough. And it's about navigating young adulthood, which is why it's so relevant to even now. I mean, that's going to be me soon. In my mid-20s in New York, not a single clue what I'm doing. I cannot wait. But back to Rachel and Emma. At the hospital, Ross's mother brings him a ring to propose with. Joey picks it up by accident, and Rachel thinks that he's proposing to her, and she agrees to it. I don't know what was going on in her head. She had just given birth, okay? Her wits were fully about her. Still, when Ross finds out about this, he no longer wants to get back together with Rachel. Rachel moves back in with Joey because things are weird with Ross. And, oh my gosh, she develops feelings for Joey. But he starts dating Charlie, who Ross likes. This is a high school teen drama at this point, so messy. On a trip to Barbados, Joey and Charlie break up, and Ross links up with Charlie and Joey with Rachel. I don't know why this happened. I hope the writer who devised this never worked again. Ew. Ew.
Ew, David.
First off, why do we feel the need to make every male-female relationship eventually romantic? Why is friendship not enough? Especially in the show, which is called Friends. They have a bunch of really awkward makeout scenes like kids in high school, and not in a cute way, in a gross way. I hate this. I probably hate this more than Ross did. I actually felt sick to my stomach watching the kids when I watched this for the first time in high school. Ross walks in on them and freaks out.
Fine! Totally fine!
And Joey knows he's wrong for dating his best friend's ex-wife and mother of his child. And Rachel also knows that she should not have entertained this. Gosh, the older seasons are much better. Even though Ross gave his blessing very reluctantly, the two break up, as they should. I don't feel bad for Ross ever, but I did feel bad for me for having to watch this. It was wrong. It was so wrong. Rachel wants to sleep with Ross after her father has a heart attack for comfort, but he rejects her because he doesn't want to take advantage of her emotional state. Growth! Season 1 Ross would not have done that. Rachel gets a job in Paris, for which she is very excited, but then she and Ross sleep together because he has to ruin every freaking thing. She gets on the plane, Ross tries to stop her, but fails. He gets home to a message from her, and after this relationship For real, this was a really good scene. He was listening to the phone. Rachel, she's conflicted. She wonders if she wants to get off the plane. She tries to get off the plane. He's wondering when it cuts off, did you get off the plane? Did you get off the plane?
I got off the plane.
I got off the plane. He turns around, and there she is. I do hate this trope, though. I hate the throwing away your dream for a relationship. Always choose yourself. Rachel spent her entire time in the show, 10 years, wanting to have a job like this and make something of herself. And she's gonna throw it away for Ross? Ross, with whom she didn't go 5 minutes without arguing? Come on! Now, if you want my guess as to what happens next in the world of Friends with Ross and Rachel, I'm gonna take a gander and say because they never actually worked out their issues, it doesn't go well. And she must have had a wild home life. Ultimately, I think Ross sucks, and I think that he doesn't navigate life as a respectable adult with actual care for how his actions affect people around him. And I think Rachel was so enamored by the ideal of romance, she gave up her dream for him, and that is probably going to breed resentment. Match made in hell. But that's going to be it for this video. Enough of me. If you made it this far, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Leave a like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about Ross and Rachel. Check out another video on my channel, and I will see you all so soon. Bye.